visiting my son. He's only 16. He's on a murder charge. He shouldn't be here anyway. He's too young. I mean, this isn't...
He's innocent. Yeah, he shouldn't have innocent people in prison.
He shouldn't be in a man's prison at all, really. I mean, he's only a schoolboy.
I'm the youngest here in Brixton and waiting to go to trial. First ever image I sort of had of prisons, geezers walking about in arrowed suits, ball and chains. But when I came to Brixton, I didn't know what was going on. Right, and I was just floating about everywhere, you know. I didn't know what to do, whatever to say to people, like, you know. And I just sort of like, you know, now, I just sort of like finally sort of like I'm coming down to earth, like, you know, and sort of like realising that sort of thing I am here. You know what I mean? I've got to sort of like cope with it the best I can.
The men coming through here are remand prisoners. In law, of course, they're still innocent men until they've been proven guilty in the court, so if and when they're proven guilty in the courts. We're the busiest remand prison in the country. The systems stretch really beyond all reasonable limits. The difficulty is a man can be here for some days, go to court, has his hearing, remanded for a further week, may then go into police cells, maybe 1-2 more nights, and then back here again. It becomes a merry-go-round. This, of course, produces all sorts of problems. The social ones. Families don't know where they've got to. Produces problems for visits and things like this. And then, of course, it produces problems for us because the administration's at its limit when we just don't know where they are. The consequence is what should be really a time when we're helping these men prepare themselves for court. It's very difficult to do.
At the moment, are you?
Pretty bad.
Are you? All right. When are you taking them around? Taking them around to the medical room? We're taking you around to the medical room now.
I've been locked up too long.
Yeah, and then you'll see a doctor anyway when you go through. Okay.
You're obviously in distress at the moment. How long were you kept in a police cell?
About three days now.
And did you have any medical help?
Well, I saw a doctor. I wouldn't call it much help, though.
What did the doctor prescribe for you?
Just one value.
Stand on the mat there behind the table. Leave them all on there. Stand on the mat behind the table. Take all your clothes off, put them in a box.
What worries me most is the fact that I'm so disorientated. I feel it very difficult to defend myself.
If you want to wear your own clothes and you're on ordinary location in the morning, put an application in. First thing in the morning, you'll be brought down and wear your own clothes. Okay? Put a robe on.
Is that the one that went to Farnham this morning? Yes. Yes, okay. As soon as possible, mate.
Sign on that top line there for me.
We have to respond to people remanded to custody, and they comprise a tremendously wide range of people. Youngsters, the ill, the normal routine offender, and we have to accommodate them somewhere. There are a lot of people presently locked out because we haven't enough space. And last night, 352 prisoners who should have been in Brixton or other prisons were held in police cells in Greater London.
I've been in a police cell, rows, rucks, and there's no way in the world you'll get out of it. All of a sudden, one day, I find myself in Dalston Police Station. You can only say it's a dungeon. You can't say anything else. It's a dungeon. I'm thrown in there, two of us, one on a bench and me on the floor with my head propped up against the toilet. I'm not kidding, that's the way it was. There was a vent in the wall and there's smoke from the traffic going by. Just terrible. Right? All of a sudden, in the morning, flat comes down. Your name? Yeah, your mum's dead. Bang, up went the flat. I mean, what? Yeah, now what? Yeah. I'm left to roast.
We service here something like 24 major Crown courts in London and the home counties. And that means that on any day we send about 250 officers with prisoners out to court to supervise them. Because of staff shortages, we can't always produce prisoners who have to appear at magistrates' courts.
You end up in here. Not for a week or two, like me, 10, 11 months. End up here 18 months, go to court, not guilty. What have I got for that? 18 months out of my life. 18 months away from my family. Not a penny for me. Hard luck, mate.
When a person is charged with a serious offence, bail is usually withheld, and for good reason. A court which makes the decision whether to grant bail or not is not in a position to judge whether the defendant is guilty or innocent. The problem is, of course, that a great number of people are ultimately acquitted. The way to minimise the hardship and the injustice that results is to reduce the waiting time. In Scotland, they do have such legislation. In fact, a man who is remanded in custody must be tried within 110 days. The system works in Scotland, and I see no reason why the vast majority of cases in England and Wales can't be dealt with within 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, slowly.
I used to go to work and it got to a stage that people wouldn't talk to me. They wouldn't get into the lift. So I had to pack my job up. You know, so I just don't work now. My kid was petrified when he first came in. He's never been away from home before. And as for taking to a place like this, I don't think he believed it himself.
I hadn't officially left school yet, and I was sort of like looking for a job to try and sort of like, you know, when I had left school, I wouldn't have to go on a dole. But when I came in here, all just smashed up. Well, day by day, you're losing a piece of your identity, you know. Can't think what's happened last week, because everything's the same. It's the same sort of routine, you know.
We have 29 convicted prisoners on this landing and 5 young people under the age of 21, which shouldn't be on the landing, mixing with convicted prisoners. We try not to associate them with convicted prisoners, But obviously they've got to mix with them, so we can't draw the line that fine.
When do they mix with them?
Every time they're open.
Which is how often during the day?
Well, most of the day, actually. In the evenings they're locked up, but most of the day. The convicted prisoners on this landing are only here till they pass through to other prisons. They're serving anything from 9 months to 10 years. They're doing different charges from GBH, taking and driving away, robberies, actual bodily harm on the wives, anything like that.
It would only be those youngsters who are on very serious charges who would come here for medical reports. And then, if they were under 17, they would go on to a young offender establishment. We break not only the national rules, we break the European conventions on these matters as well, by taking youngsters particularly, and also by mixing up convicted and unconvicted people. There's no point in denying that. And that's a matter that we regret. But the alternative, if we were to stand on those rules very firmly, is simply to exacerbate a position of overcrowding.
All the receptions have been seen. Okay.
I fetch his dinners and everything up for him each day, every day.
From Sunday?
Yeah.
Sunday you're
on
not allowed to
Sunday.
visit? You know,
We just fetch
day
his
of
dinner.
rest or something. They won't let you visit on Sundays, but every other day of the week. Yeah, I'll come up as soon as I can, yeah. But it's not as much as my mum, she comes out all the time.
Convicted prisoners try and come in, you know, got some matches, like, got some cigarettes or some tobacco or whatever. The only reason they do it, like, is because, sort of, like, they know we're on remand and we can still get, sort of, like, stuff in, you know? Well, you got to think about it, like, you're not paying for it, like, it's sort of like your people who is paying for it. They expect you to say, oh, yeah, I like, you know. But you sort of, like, don't, you know? When you're in here, you sort of, like, you've got to look after number one sort of thing, which is yourself, you know?
Well, you couldn't get anything worse than this, could you? That kid is scarred for life. I mean, they brought him in here. He was a kid when he brought him in here. He's had to more or less grow up overnight. I do worry, so therefore he more or less has to put a smile on every time he sees me so that I know that he's all right, you know, because if I was to see him a bit upset, then I think that would crack me, really.
No boot room. Got a spin this morning.
What's that?
And it's when they come and search the cells.
What's that for?
Say like you've got excess plates and things like that, you know what I mean?
But I use their plates all the time.
Yeah, I know, that's what I mean. Excess plates.
Okay.
You're only meant to have 2 plates to each cell, 2 cups. You know what I mean? Knives, forks, spoon, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that.
So what they take?
Took water bottles I was doing my training with.
Yeah.
Took them.
Why?
I don't know. So I said you can escape. Tie the blankets around the bottle. You can throw it over the wall and you use it as a weight.
You've got no reason to escape, have you?
No.
You haven't done anything, so you've got nothing to worry about, have you?
No.
Good morning. Sit down. You appeared at Marlborough Street Magistrates Court yesterday, the 12th, the 5th.
That's right.
You've been remanded in custody until the 19th of the 5th. Okay, you've been charged with supplying drugs contrary to the Section 4.3 of the 1971 Drugs Act. So when you came into the prison last night, you were wearing your own clothing.
Yeah.
We have taken that from you. Are you quite happy everything that you brought in was put away correctly?
What does your girlfriend think about being in here?
Well, I imagine she'd be pretty shocked. And for all she knows, I've had an accident.
Oh, she wasn't there when you were arrested?
No.
Hello, could I speak to Patricia? She's away sick today.
Who's that?
Oh, well, it's a personal call. I see.
Ask if Gay's there.
Is Gay there? She's away too. Oh, right.
What about June?
Oh, what about June? Is she in today? June is there. Could I speak to June, please? Is she a friend of hers?
Yeah.
Does she know about you?
Yeah.
Your problems?
Prisoners who are on remand, unconvicted prisoners, have certain facilities that are not available to convicted prisoners. They can have a daily visit. Admittedly, because of pressure on space, it's only 15 minutes. They're in London, which is very often convenient for families. They have solicitors visit, and there are a number of attractions, therefore, and your life, at a fairly primitive level, is made a little more comfortable. It is also true that that time counts towards your sentence. So if perhaps you have an expectation of getting a prison sentence, any time spent on remand in the circumstances I've described counts towards that sentence. And it isn't unknown for people to want to extend that period. And not surprisingly, people are wanting to make the best fist of it they can. And so one sometimes has occasions when people change solicitors at a late point in time and other devices for delaying getting to court. I wouldn't say that was the majority of cases, but it has been known.
A large percentage of prisoners, I would say in excess of 90%, have been through the system before. And it's very, very few you do get that haven't. I can recall one in particular, a chappie who had been in for refusing to give the police a specimen when he'd been stopped driving. And because he wasn't able to produce a permanent address, he wasn't granted bail. And in fact, the chap worked on the motorways, and his home was a caravan which he used to take to the various different places that he was working. And of course, that was his address, that was his home. And the police didn't consider that this was a permanent address, and of course the court refused him bail. That, of course, is a matter for the courts, but it doesn't help our position here when we're so overcrowded, putting people like that in. The man eventually went back to court and he got off. The conditions that they're living are very inhumane, to say the least. They're living tree to a cell, in a cell which was only initially made to accommodate one person. The toilet facilities within the wing are not up to scratch, insofar as that of the 8 toilets, recesses as they're called in prison, there are only 4 at the moment. They've just got to wait their turn to use the toilets. And of course, even when they're in full flow, the design of the sewage doesn't cope with the amount of people we have in. They were never meant to cope with the amount of people that are using them. What can be done about it, I don't know, but something desperately needs to be done. Of course, the fact that they're living in those kind of conditions mean that we're working in conditions as well, which we ought not to have to work in.
The overcrowding is caused by a number of things. One is the business that is put our way by the courts. Secondly, by our own dilapidated buildings. The fact that F Wing is out of action, had to be evacuated because it was quite unsafe. Over the course of the next few years, there are other parts of Brixton which have stood for over 150 years, which are going to need major refurbishment, which means removing prisoners from them.
this in my life ever before.
Yeah.
And I never ever thought I would come to anything like this.
Yeah.
I'll do anything to get out of it, anything legal, the same as I've always done. But I can't get help. I just cannot get help. From the time I was picked up on Sunday from my home, I was accused of threatening to kill someone, which is absolute nonsense. And there's nothing I can do about it, because when I was taken in by the police, I just didn't know what to do. They refused me contact with anyone. They wouldn't let me make a telephone call. Every time I asked for someone of the legal profession to come and advise me, or at least to be with me, I was refused. And I am lost, utterly lost, unless something is done. I am a lost person. I will disappear into this system without any opportunity whatsoever of assistance. And I'm scared out of my wits. I just wish I weren't alive.
It's all a question of behaving, yes? When you go back upstairs? Phone goes on. You need socks as well.
My guess is it was decided you should come in here because I sometimes feel that I'm dealing with a frightened cat who just needs to be. Perhaps you can't even touch it to stroke it, but perhaps it will allow you in time to get near enough to stroke it and calm it down. I've stopped trying to think that I can do great things for people. I always say, hello, Mr. So-and-so. Sometimes it's the only time people have been addressed in a rather dignified manner for days or weeks. I think that these places are very good at taking dignity away from people. I think that the things people do take away their dignity, but I think that that my job is to try and give some of it back.
What we're looking for is all sorts of contraband, weapons, anything which might give them a lead for an escape, that sort of thing. We found a substance, we're not quite sure what it is. It will be sent away to be for analysis by the police, and then if it's proven to be an item which is illegal in here, then charges will follow. The rules with regard to this are exactly the same for remand or convicted. Even though he's not yet sentenced, it can in fact count towards the sentence he may get if he's found to be guilty. An offender who's proven to have brought substance through visits can find in fact his visits are not curtailed but controlled, which means that there's a partition between him and his visitor.
You're not treated as innocent. You are restricted. You're not allowed to make phone calls without permission. Your letters are censored. You're restricted in what you can bring in, i.e. private food. If a person wants a little bit more alcoholic drinks, for example, he's not allowed. He's only allowed a pint and a half. You're restricted all the way around. Your liberty's been curtailed. That, for an innocent person, is going against the civil rights what everybody else on the outside has got.
You've been committed, haven't you? You haven't been committed. How many weeks have you been waiting?
I'm in a little bit better position. Then I have got a bit of money. Therefore, I can use private mail. I can put stamps on myself.
But there are many who have come in with nothing, and they're restricted to the prison system, which is 2 letters a week. How could anyone on 2 letters a week defend themselves? Well, it's an impossibility, quite frankly. You can't run your business. Not if it's a one-man band, so to speak, where you're doing the selling, where you're doing the buying. Everything goes freezing in midair. I've been here 7 months, nearly. And my auditor can't come here with all the information. We're talking of sacksfuls of invoices. We can't sit down here and run a business. This bloke here must have got the price of wheat traced back to Roman times.
A little bit different than them days.
I lost a bit of money in there. My auditors sent me a letter. Should you be in prison for any length of time, this could seriously jeopardise the affairs of the company and could force the company into liquidation.
Well, a man is received into Brixton prison by the governor, and he comes in on a warrant, which is a custody warrant, either issued by the Crown Court or the Magistrates' Court. He comes in from the Magistrates' Court, he'll be on a 7-day warrant in custody. Personally, as far as I'm concerned, the man has been remanded in custody, and I'll have to treat him as a custodial prisoner. I have no option but that. It's nothing to do with me what his charge is. That's his responsibility.
I am here on alleged sexual offences. The police said I had to be kept on remand for my own protection, that all people wanted to do was kill me. And there was a prisoner officer on duty, and he said to me, I think that you should go on Rule 43. He said, well, let me put it to you like this. He said, if you don't go on Rule 43, he said, in the morning, we'll have to put you in a black sack and carry you out. My life's in danger on the outside. Now he's saying to me, if I go with ordinary prisoners, my life's going to be finished in 12 hours. What it means to me, Rule 43, is basically that you're segregated from the rest of the prison. You are restricted from taking part in any activity which may be available for the others. You're only let out to empty your toilet bucket for meals and other minor ablutions during the day. You're also subject to abuse because we happen to be in a wing which is not completely Rule 43.
No, because when you look at the rules, it's like...
They seem to take it for granted because you're segregated, no matter what your offence is or whether you're guilty or not, you have raped little children. That is it. It's very frightening, quite frankly, because you have to look with eyes in the back of your head when you do come out the cell. Now, for someone who hasn't been through this, it's quite... it's hard to take. You find yourself having to knuckle to petty things. And being that I've run my own business, big-headed maybe as it is, I'm used to dishing out the orders, not receiving them. You feel cocooned in a room. It's particularly hard over holidays. Christmas. First time I've been away from my family for 21 years, and it winds you up. You know, you look at the door and... well, especially when you've gone through with your wife anyway, which is who's going to divorce you, and there's been sort of threats by post that you're not going to be allowed to see your own daughters, and well, you know, to me it's a nightmare, really. You know, upset me. I don't like to think of those.
It should be yours, a bit of that. Thanks very much.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. You've been coming out for a long time.
Only 5 months.
Yes. Have you got a date fixed yet or not? No.
Just got to wait. Just the waiting, isn't it?
Yeah, something. Well, that must be terribly difficult not to know when something's going to come up. They can visit for anything up to 18 months. And there was one girl who used to come up with her 2 children, and she was visiting for 18 months. And we got to know the children very well. She was leaving with us practically every day. She didn't want to take the children in. Sometimes after the trial starts, you don't see your visitors again. And it's not sheer idle, vulgar curiosity. You've obviously got very fond of people as they've come in so often. And I saw the 2 children in the buggy, the jumble cell, and I went in. I found Mum there, and I said, what happened? And she said, oh, he was acquitted. So after 18 months, you know, he came home, and that was that.
More than 4 out of 10 people who are remanded in custody pending their trial are in fact not returned to prison either because they're acquitted or because when the court is in full possession of the facts it determines that a prison sentence is inappropriate. When a verdict of not guilty is returned, the defendant is rather summarily dismissed from the court in an abrupt manner. If he's been in custody a long time, he may well have lost his job, lost his home, become separated from his friends and family, and as things stand, he gets not so much as an apology. Financial compensation is the least that's due to him. If injustice occurs, it should be accepted and not swept under the carpet as it is at the moment.
There it is, I've come out not guilty. The charges were conspiracy. I've been cleared of every one. The jury have made me 12-0 not guilty. I've wallowed in Brixton for 11 months, and what happens now? I haven't got a penny compensation or anything. The judge just turns around and says, you're discharged. And away you go. Goodbye. I could sue the police, but who wants that aggravation? I want a nice, quiet life now. I want to go home to my family that I've been 11 months without. They've had it hard. I've had it hard. The children, what can you say? Nothing can replace that 11 months. I feel quite bitter, really. And I've just got to pick the pieces up and find a job and go from there.
When I first came in, I was over the hospital, and I came in and I didn't know sort of where I was, you know. I was sort of walking about. I sat down at a table and some bloke over there came up to me, like, offered me a fag. And I said, what you in for, like? I sort of said, murder, like, and I was frightened the way I said it, you know. And he goes, oh, don't worry about that. We're all in the same boat here, we're all in for murder. And that really frightened me, like, you know. Really
Why
did.
did it frighten you?
Because I thought I'd never seen a murder before or nothing, you know. Or nothing, like, so I've never sort of, like, been away in my life, you know. And, I don't know, it just frightened me every time they sort of, like, sat there eating their meals with a foot, sort of, like, knife, you know what I mean, or something. I sort of, like, sit away, you know.
Murder charge. Should be going up next month.
Yeah.
If there's anything you need in that, you know, just let me know. Like, you know, shampoo or soap and all that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not too bad here. Time goes quick, you've got your telly on all day and all that, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's better than being banged up in a cell, really. How old are you?
No, 24.
24? I'm only 19. I shouldn't really even be in here.
No? You should be in what?
I should be in a YP remand centre.
Yeah.
But because of the nature of my charge, they said just put me in here.
Well, I find it's funny, like, when I first got in, I thought, there's no, like, I was just reminding for a week. Yeah. I thought, make me flip. But since, you know, I've just managed to take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
And I find it hardened. I think you just...
Oh, you adjust
you find
to
you
it,
do
don't you?
cope with it. I think you've got to either like cracked up. We've got to harden up.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think the prison service undersells itself in the way in which it looks after the disordered offender. There are those who say that anybody who is in any way disturbed ought not to be in prison. And I belong to the second group, which says that it isn't any good saying that they ought to be elsewhere. We've got them, and our job is to make the best we can of what we've got. And after all, they come here because there's an alleged offence, and the courts have decided they have to be remanded.
Came from Sealing.
Hello? Hello? How are you today? You're not feeling very well? Why don't you sleep on the bed?
People come in and talk to me.
Well, other people come in and talk to you. I can't talk to you all the time, but I've come now. How do you feel? You don't want to talk to me today? OK.
We have people who are suicide risks, and we have to identify those if we can, and we have arrangements for keeping those on special watch, and that means that at least every 15 minutes they are seen. That's throughout the 24 hours. Now, it's not unfair to say that those who are very determined can do themselves serious self-injury, even with the limited possessions that they have, but we try to minimise that as far as we can.
I can't see.
I don't know if you ever put them on top of there, they want to me. What else do you guys about for money club? That's better for you. Not for cold. I think talking about the cup, we're up chickens, think about the outside. Like in windows, get charged money, they think it's not for good side business.
Danny, tell me the rest tomorrow. He's banged his head, but he'll be all right.
The only reason I don't seem fighting now is because I've come to adapt to the prison, like the way it is. When I first come in, I was really scared, like, you know, over the hospital. But as time's passed on, I sort of adapted and sort of blended in with the brickwork. Since I come now, it's opened my eyes to the other side. And I know now if I've got to go back out, there's no way I'm going to cross the path of the law again, like, you know. I don't want to come back to one of these places.